Boom. Yes. We're live, ladies and gentlemen. Got a late night chaga tea and rant session for you. Yeah, that's correct. We are going to be taking a look at the market, and I'm going to maybe get a little more minutia based with some of today's conversation, just for fun. I know a lot of people like technical conversations. So what I want to do is use that technical conversation to explain something around the fundamentals of why this stuff seems to work so well. We're going to dive in. Give us a thumbs up right off the get-go. I have another screen set up here, so I should be able to make sure that I can switch back and forth more efficiently these times. I set up on an old monitor. I didn't remember that I had. Anyways, this is going to be a fun live stream, so we're just going to dive in. Probably going to actually spend almost an hour with you guys this evening, so we'll do a bunch of questions at the end as well. So what I would like to do again is just start with Bitcoin's price and take a look at our general market sentiments. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Okay, one sec here. Sorry, ladies. Okay, bam, BTC share. Yes, there we go. Okay. This is the accumulation and SOS and LPS ranges we've been following. There's the previous high. We are quite high off the previous trading range, currently sitting around a 400% gain since the $12,000 to $11,000 mark. We are well on our way into this bull market. Everyone is waking up to the power, not just of crypto, but of the metaverse. If you guys have not read the book Snow Crash, I highly suggest you do. If you are interested in the metaverse and don't yet know of the book Snow Crash, I believe that's the first time the metaverse was like duly named. So Neil Stephenson wrote a great book there. It's one of my favorites. It's a cult classic. I highly suggest it. But in general, the Bitcoin, this feels funny saying this, is not just the money of the internet and of the new digital age, but likely of the metaverse as well. We're going to take a look at that conversation further to the end of this, because I think Solana and Avalanche, Ethereum all have a part in that. But more importantly, let's just start with our general money in between the normal reality and then the meta reality. Because we're so well along our way into this bull market, what's always fun is that it's almost like hiking a mountain. As you get to new mountain peaks, what you actually get to see is what the next 10 or 20 years of market cycle growth will look like. And this is why everyone is so bullish on the metaverse. It's not going to develop overnight or today, but over the next 10 years, we get to see this development. And back in 2017, we were looking at Bitcoin's price at around $17,000 at the peak, $20,000 at the peak. A nice little like 3 to 10 day period we had there. What you got to see was the next kind of generation and cycle of what was coming into the future. You know, Ethereum was doing really well, up at like $1,500 at that point. And then everything came crashing back down in price and speculation. And then the real building takes place of the things like the metaverse. So what's fun is that as we've climbed higher up in Bitcoin's price, we get to actually see more of the potential in the rest of the sector, not just with Bitcoin. And this is kind of one of my favorite parts about the bull market, aside from the fantastic gains. The vision and the concept that we're looking at, again, is kind of measuring speculation and the psyche. So as the price goes higher, we get to see further into the future of what the tech might look like via that speculation. It almost acts like a telescope to some degree. So right in the middle of the bull market, which is where we are, we get this cool view from a new mountaintop where we can see a new mountaintop. Whereas when you're down in the valley, it's a lot harder to see these new kind of conceptual tops, like the metaverse, the NFT sector, and the relevant function between all of these different spaces that is evolving in the digital world. So we're going to go minutia now, though. So back down onto the shorter time frames. Here we have on the 6-hour time frame this clear trading range that we've been following, moving into impulse and reaction, impulse and retraction waves. We are in the final retraction wave of the SOS and LPS out of that 200-day reaccumulation cycle we went through before we peak into new all-time highs. Now, this is going to be really interesting to see what the market does. There's a lot of really interesting things that are going on in the world right now. We'll see how time plays out, but we're only a few, just about 2 years into the 2020s. So things are moving quite quickly for where we are. But again, let's go smaller now. So again, what I want you to do is remember that we're in an SOS, we're in an impulse wave, and we've just finished what appears to be a retraction wave. So as we get closer, we see this retraction wave that we were watching the other day, this nice falling channel, or often called a bull flag in more traditional spaces. We hit the bottom of this bull flag twice, we broke above, and we've now continued up. You actually see a very nice secondary pattern forming, and this will often happen. We speak about this all the time. It's called scale invariance. So here you see a nice head and shoulders that has also taken place on Bitcoin. We are likely about to jump to around $78,000 probably within the next, let's see, it's the third, I think Iris said the 5th. Let's go with the 5th. Let's say on the 5th, we're going to start to jump to like 75 grand. I'm leaning there. But anyways, this beautiful inverse head and shoulders, this nice bull flag. There are multiple bullish signals coming out of this particular area of the market, and we have a close above the bull flag itself as well. So one of the things that you will often see people use are stuff like this. So I don't usually use more moderate minutia technical trades anymore. I usually find it's kind of a waste of time and energy, like trying to buy here and say sell here. And there are people that do this and they like to do this. I do not. I'm a much bigger fan of finding long-term technical trades and long-term fundamental trades, and then pairing those together like a goddamn badass cheese and wine charcuterie board or something. So once you have a nice pairing selected, Bitcoin here, between fundamentals and technicals, it gives us this really unique perspective to measure human mentality. So this is on the above chart here, which I'm about to full screen, is the RSI. It's known as your relative strength index. Now, again, I do not use signals or markers like this too often, just because it's not my favorite. Again, I know I just don't trade that style, but again, just looking at the RSI. So what it's showing is the strength in the difference between the buying and the selling within the supply range that we were witnessing. So when we look at, we'll actually make these two a little bit bigger, and we'll drop down the bottom one for now. We'll go down to the bottom one afterwards, but we'll just start with the RSI. It's fairly simple. And it's pretty easy to recognize some of the potentials. And again, I don't trade stuff like this. I don't suggest anyone trade stuff like this, but just for fun, because we're going to have a longer episode this evening, let's go through a bit of a learning process. Okay, so here we go. Actually, we'll fatten this up too, so it's a little easier to see. Nice. Okay, yeah, this should do it. So the RSI and the relative strength index, let's go on the 6 hours to give us a little bit better of a picture. Yeah, see, there's that inverse head and shoulders that we were watching, very beautifully displayed in the relative strength index too. So this is quite a nice feature to see. The other important factors are, again, we'll look at them as we go. Actually, there's a few that have been really nice in both Star Atlas, Avalanche, and even here in Ethereum. We'll continue down this line of minutia technicals for a minute, just so we can get a glimpse of why people use the relative strength index or any other real indicator. I think just supply and price is more than enough to get a good technical pulse if you know what the fundamentals are. So again, fundamentals of Bitcoin are governments have consistently absolutely destroyed money, right? These are the fundamentals. Governments have destroyed currency time and time again for generation after generation, different across borders, across cultures and languages. Same people do the same things over and over and over again, it appears. So because of that, the fundamental for Bitcoin and this technical potential here is us looking at the failure of currency, right? One of the things that Bitcoin provides as an asset is built-in scarcity, and to some degree, it's even deflationary. Now, Bitcoin is not inherently deflationary, aside from technology itself is actually extraordinarily deflationary. When people lose wallets, you're increasing or decreasing the supply of Bitcoin that's actually accessible. So we don't actually have 21 million Bitcoin ever, because some of those have been lost to the garbage dumps of time, or rather the river of time. And because of that, Bitcoin has become deflationary both on the technical forefront and on the physical scarcity. So the fundamentals here are, we have a technologically deflationary money that is extraordinarily secure, knowing that governments are constantly printing capital, destroying their currency, and inevitably likely destroying their society. Again, this is, you can, like, I don't know if people read history books or not. Sure, you guys do. If you're here watching me, you're probably fairly adept, intelligent individuals. So if you've read history books, which I'm sure you have, you would recognize that this story seems to repeat itself, that we keep making these same mistakes. So if we recognize that there is this kind of rise and fall cycle to a society, this is likely what we are witnessing now. Now, it is not the most extraordinarily exciting thing to go through. Again, I suggest a book called The Dying of Money. It gives a good preface and kind of a storyline of the Weimar Republic's currency failure. It's happening in multiple places around the world, actually just for fun. And I'm going to get through this. This is just the fundamentals, but I'm going to get through this here for a second. Okay, is the stream going good? Okay, stream's going good. So we're going to go US dollar to CRC. Okay, there we go. So right now, this is the US dollar, and here's the Costa Rican colone. This is the currency where I live. And I moved here not that long ago. Let's look at the 10-year chart for the Costa Rican colone. This is actually when I first moved here, more or less, between 2011 and 2013. Since then, we have seen a dramatic increase in the inflation within this ecosystem. And look at just the last month. Bam! We've actually breaking into new highs, right? So here we're looking at multiple currency failures around the world because governments just keep printing on money and keep taking on debt. They're all doing this. Costa Rica doesn't have the ability to do a whole lot about it, whereas they can't do much other than just create more coins, which has not, again, obviously not boded well in their favor. This is almost a 20% increase or decrease in their currency's purchasing power versus the US dollar in the last decade alone. And this is actually very, very quick. And it starts to happen much, much faster as time moves on. So in the book, The Dying of Money, what it does is it gives a nice storyline of what things look like as currencies are collapsing. And one of the things that's really unique is you actually start to notice a lot of overnight millionaires. People that are usually not well adapted, well equipped, or somehow even plausibly able to get to being very wealthy. This is one of the interesting things about hyperinflation, is that it's a struggle between assets and the basically worthless currency that's underlying the original purchase of those assets, right? Like, so my property here on 2.5 acres, I got a little waterfall, I got solar panels, I now have a nice infinity pool. This creates a type of permanence, or, well, I guess impermanence of value, depending on how you want to look at it, in an asset layer itself, right? So the reason you would use a currency or money is to be able to exchange these different potential variables in what we consider assets as individuals. So back to our Bitcoin chart here, because we know the underlying fundamental of Bitcoin is the failure of currency that has happened through centuries and generations, we've actually got a pretty damn good bet going here. You could just only invest in Bitcoin, and that's a damn good thing. Like, wow, Bitcoin's amazing. We have an extraordinarily long-term fundamental, like thousands of years of people doing the same things wrong. We could probably rely on human nature to consistently make that mistake, maybe a few more times. I don't know. We don't seem to figure it out. We always persecute the wrong people. But anyways, so given that we have such a long track record, this is actually a great thesis to follow into the future. We see a lot of overnight millionaires, and our current technical position is looking really strong. We're still well above the median range for the RSI and moving higher. Now, one of the things that's going to be interesting here is that over the next month or two, we're going to move into higher ranges, like 90,000, maybe even upwards of 140,000. And then what you're going to see is, as the price gets higher, the relative strength index will start to get lower effectively. and then it will stay low, but the price will be ultimately high. So you have kind of a peak out here that draws to the relative strength index here, and a peak out here that draws to the relative strength index up here. And that's usually when the market starts to collapse. There's just not enough buying pressure, and the big players start to sell. Now, again, I don't think you should really ever sell. This is one of the interesting I'm going to use the word conflagration. I believe that's the correct word, although it's probably used more for geomorphology. The conflagration, or the the wave, I don't know what you call it when waves smash together. There's probably a word for it. It's like when they cross over. Anyways, probably unimportant. When you start to see these signals, the price usually drops dramatically. But here we have a long-term fundamental that says you shouldn't really sell your asset. The hot potato currency game is on its tail end. This dramatic 20%, these are warning signals across the board. I'm not even sure how many. Let's look at the Indian rupee versus the US dollar. Boom, look at that. Significant from 49 to 77, significant inflation in the Indian rupee as well. Let's look at the Singapore dollar. How well has it fared? Hey, not so bad. It's done okay with the US dollar. That makes sense. Singapore is a pretty highly specialized country. What about the Canadian dollar? Again, pretty stable, but still significantly that's all, again, a 26% decrease in the purchasing power of the Canadian dollar to the US dollar. So we see these warning signals all across the board that these currencies effectively are failing. Let's take a look at the Japanese yen. 2012, you're looking at 78, and now here you are up at 111. Yeah, so almost across the board, 20 to 30% increases in inflation in everything against the US dollar. And this, again, this is our fundamental of why we're making these long macro investment theses. Thesi? I like these late night conversations because I don't know what I'm going to say. I feel like I've just learned something here. Okay, the point of this is the technical aspect is the price and supply range, right? This is the kind of buying and selling. This is the human emotion aspect based off this macro conversation. But again, if you understand this macro conversation, you probably just only want to be getting further into the market. There's a great write-up by Sequoia. They came out about a month with, I think it was because now we're in November. In last month, in October, about a week and a half ago, they came out with an article talking about now that they look back over the last decade of portfolio adjustments, they wish they had basically sold nothing. If you're doing well and you know that the long-term fundamental is the destruction of currency, over 1,000 years of data, it's a pretty long time for the record to keep repeating, then you should almost always be trading that currency for hard layer assets. Right? This is the kind of the conversation behind why gold bugs become gold bugs, or Bitcoin maximalists become Bitcoin maximalists. And lots of people invest in real estate, is that assets are actually a really productive way to store value. But the question is, what's money? That's where Bitcoin has a really unique advantage to it. It's a money, it's an asset, it can be a currency, it can do a bunch of really unique things because the digital age is extraordinarily powerful, and we're making that long hedge bet on the failure of currencies, where we could let's see how the Thai baht is doing. Hey, the Thai baht's actually been performing, or just actually, it's done better by not failing as badly, effectively. Well, let's see, who have I not heard of too much? Let's see how Mexico is doing. Wow, yeah, again, Mexico from 12 to 20, almost a 50% increase in Mexico's inflation versus the US dollar. Let's take a look at something I've never heard of. Let's pick a country I've never heard of. Omani Real. I have no idea what that is. Okay, it has been totally flat. I don't know how they've managed to do this, but this looks interesting, and it looks like it actually is dead. Okay. Well, we found it interesting though. Okay, let's go the Bahamian dollar. Wow, that is spectacular. The Bahamian dollar has been won. These guys got it figured out. Now I know why FTX has moved to the Bahamas. This is the most stable currency on the planet right now. Everybody's Everybody's the Bahamas. That's where you want to be. Look at this. The Bahama has kept a perfect 1-to-1. I wonder if this is just a data glitch in what I'm getting from the currency charts here. I'm sure it is, but that's hilarious. This is the most stable coin ever. Everybody needs to take a page from the Bahamian dollars playbook. Anyways, point of the story. Aside from the Bahamian dollar, everything else pretty much has seen between 20 to 50% inflation. This is fun. I love adventures of late night charting. Okay, so where were we? Fundamentals and technical. So I try not to get caught up too much in the technical. You can make a lot of money there. It's not that interesting to me. And I don't like spending that much time focusing on just trying to jump in or get out. I like long-term, consistent, repetitious mantras and cycles. This looks all beautiful. You have so many converging bullish technical signals and fundamental signals right now. If you're new to investing, you just keep investing. You keep finding a way to generate currency and trade it for assets. It's really simple. Now, getting into a trading type of mentality, I'm much more interested in venture capital, which actually uses a very similar fundamental macro thesis and technicals. Now, one of the very unique things, we're going to look at Ethereum here now. Ethereum, I believe, is still in its venture capital phase, although it's on the verge of going public, right? So right now, though, you also have Solana and Avalanche and FTM as well. There's a few in this layer one theory. Now, shout out to Vance Spencer. His post today was, and I'm going to make an interesting kind of conjective argument here, again, around technicals and fundamentals. This is what we're looking at. We're going to continue to kind of go over this thesis from our top 5 here. The reason being, Bitcoin, I don't think is going to ever go to zero, or let's say have its place taken. Ethereum right now, though, is aiming at a very specific layer. But so is Avalanche and Solana, and I think they're quite similar. Now, I'm not super tech savvy. I'm not smart enough to make technical arguments of what the tech is capable of. What sold me about Bitcoin when I first started buying it was that this is a sovereign money, a digitally sovereign money. This is what's so attractive about the metaverse. This is why I'm got so much money in things like Star Atlas right now, and why I just keep investing in video games all the time. I've been telling you guys this for the last almost 2 months now. Like, we're just investing in video games pretty much. Like, we went from being layer 1 DeFi focused for almost the entire year of 2020, and then May, June of 2021, it became all metaverse investments, or video game, crypto, blockchain, play to earn games. More than metaverse, I think play to earn I guess play to earn is kind of the fun, catchy way to tag it. But the play to earn sector to me is, boom. It changed my mind on the potential of the digital world for better or for worse. So because Avalanche and Ethereum and Solana are all kind of aiming at this layer of providing a connection, at least what I believe will be the relationship between Bitcoin and the rest of the digital metaverse. Bitcoin's going to be our money probably in both worlds. It's going to be the money in the digital world, and it's going to make a damn good money in the real world too. So keep that in mind. I think that Bitcoin will remain a core part of our finance sentiment for a very long time. I think we got much longer for Bitcoin ahead of us too. So you can keep investing for the next 10 years. It's going to play out really well for you. Anyways. So because Ethereum and Avalanche and Solana are all aiming at this sector, I see them all as venture capital. Now, what's unique about venture capital is primarily if you make a venture capital investment, there's no liquidity to exit the market in, usually within the first few years. Now, there's private sales. If you're an accredited investor, if you can find someone that wanted to sell early Facebook stock or Twitter, like before they went public effectively, right? So because venture capital is everything up until the stage of public, effectively. You could look at hedge funds maybe doing Series A, B, or C. It's not so much venture capital. Venture capital kind of sits, I guess, most poignantly right between what we would call seed or angel type placements, where these are very early stage projects. They've got maybe a working beta. It's mostly just a vision. You're making most of your bets on the founder and their understanding of that vision. Again, why we are such big fans of Star Atlas, and there's a few more that we're going to share with you guys soon. But again, back to this layer one conversation. Vance Spencer is like, look, Ethereum's made the cut. Now, you're right. I agree with you. Ethereum's out on the track and kicking ass. There's a huge amount of value here, right? You don't need an Avalanche or a Solana technically, except it's way too expensive in terms of its ability to produce the social Web3 layers that we need. It's extraordinarily ineffective for the cost to benefit analysis, right? Something like Star Atlas, and again, I'm making a broad argument here of macros before we look at technicals. Something like Star Atlas here, which we're a huge fan of, been a big fan for quite some time. You've got an in-game metaverse build structure. You need instant transactions, right? Now, Bitcoin's going to offer this too, like the Lightning Network, but what's unique about the metaverse is that if, let's say we've got 2.9 billion people that are playing video games, it's $130 to $180 billion a year sector. It's a lot of revenue every year. It's a lot of people every year. The idea about value and money is really found inside of a community's choice. What would the new version of Shakespeare say? Oh yes, value is in the eye of the hodler. And there's a huge amount of this, which is true. We've gone over this with what happened with GameStop and AMC. If people want to speculate, the price will continue to go up. That's how speculation works. The underlying fundamentals make no difference. So here, if we have a digital world with a digital money inside of a digital world, like a metaverse, again, like an Atlas, which is, again, let's try to remember what meta means. Why would you need a Bitcoin? The Atlas currency within the game you have a huge revenue potential inside these video game structures, and the workforce. You have children, or I don't want to say children, young adults playing video games in like Axie Infinity, earning more than the average wage in the Philippines right now for playing a video game. And I love one of the quotes Miko had, which is, it's funner than driving an Uber, and it pays just as well, if not better. And this is the truth. Right now, you can play a video game and earn more money than you can working at a job. So Bitcoin's idea is like, look, we're the best, most sound money. Yes, great. What about work? How do you earn money? How do you create value? Where does value come from? It's not just about what makes a good asset. It's about what people deem to be valuable to themselves. And the video game sector is deemed to be very valuable to a lot of people, right? So you can have an in-game asset like the Atlas token that does really well. But if it's going to run on Ethereum, it wouldn't function. And everyone's like, well, you could go to layer 2. It's like, well, you could. But then what about how's the interoperability work? And so I think that Star Atlas and Solana, actually, I really believe Solana is placed extraordinarily well for the Web3 social development area, because unlike Ethereum, it does it already, right? To Ethereum to go through these side chains and have multiple side chains, even though we're big fans of Matic, it just feels confusing for some reason. Again, I'm not a technical person, so I can't make any like valid arguments on the tech. Like I don't have that. But from a conceptual level, we've figured it out before. So let's just trust and figure that there's some amount of intuition here that's going to be productive for us. So I think that Star Atlas and Solana are a really great example of how you could have this massive amount of growth inside an ecosystem that's going to be very difficult to replace. So I think the same thing for Ethereum as well. Ethereum could be replaced by Avalanche. It's totally true. If they don't catch up eventually at making it more efficient, Avalanche already has those things. But Ethereum, just from the NFT space, the Bored Ape Yacht Club and the crypto punks, it's actually an extraordinary large amount of perceived value within the ecosystem that's all it would need. You have to remember that there's huge verticals of interest in just very specific places. That's why people can open companies as abstract as a shoe that's meant for just climbing up walls or mountains, right? There's niches for these things. And when we're looking at the niche for a thing, I think because Avalanche, Solana, and Ethereum are all verticals for niches in a particular thing, they're all great investments still. Who's going to do the best? I'm not sure. I have all of them. And this is why I'm diversified, is because I don't know. What I feel, and this is never great to make an emotional investment, but I'm making an intuitive one here, is that Solana is going to take a social Web3 layer, Avalanche is going to take a big DeFi layer, and Ethereum is going to have to fight to make sure it can keep it, right? Because even though it's stuck in there right now, it's just stuck in there right now because people don't want to move it. It's because, oh, well, shit, the transaction fees are too high. I'll just leave it. Just let it sit, do its thing, right? It's all locked up now in proof of stake. So we're starting to see the development of the fundamentals of a good venture play. And these are all much like Ethereum is much closer to a public version of itself than it was a few years ago, but it hasn't gone public yet. Bitcoin did. Bitcoin went public this year. It's going to be here for a long time. Ethereum, I don't feel like it's quite public yet. So here we're looking at the development of these different conversations. Again, between who builds the world's biggest social media platform or integrates it quickly to make it the most efficient. Like TikTok is always trying to do NFTs and have an NFT marketplace and probably have a TikTok coin. Whoever develops these massive multinational brands using play to, not just play to earn either, right? Because this is one of the things that we haven't seen develop yet is the social media like post to earn, right? That's coming. Post to earn is coming. People are going to make more money from just posting on social media in the next few years than they did at their average job, because we already see that with video games. It will also happen in the post to earn. That's what's coming next. That's right. You heard it first here, ladies and gentlemen. Watch it. Post to earn. It's the next big metaverse play. Social stuff. We've been a digital society for quite some time. This is just a higher level of realization for that. So we are now, technically speaking, so this is the fundamentals. That was just my kind of fundamental breakdown. We're in venture capital. Any one of these could fail. Any one of them is likely to be successful. I actually think they're all very well poised to be successful. So I own all of them. Yeah, because it's just easier for me not to think too much. But I'm explaining my thought, right? So this is it. Like, Tio, what do you mean you don't think too much? It sounds like all you do is think. Okay, SOS, LPS, SOS. We have not seen an LPS or retest for Ethereum yet. We'll probably actually get another little bit of a kick up here. Let's say, I would say probably around 5,200 before we come down. We'll probably get a bull flag, very similar to what we saw with Bitcoin before we go higher. I've said at the beginning of this cycle, you can go back and watch my videos from August of 2020, that we're probably going to go to between 6,500 to 8,500 Ethereum. That's my guess. I'm sticking to it. Although I thought it would happen a little faster, whatever. I like when things go slow. Patience is a virtue, they say. Okay, so let's look at this. Yeah, so this is what I suspect. Small little bull flag, very similar to Bitcoin. And then between here and December, what is happening here? I keep clicking. There we go. We'll see a bull flag, and then we'll be on our way to around 8,500, probably with a small reaccumulation somewhere between, let's say, 55 and 65. I could do this, and then boom, up to 85. And then I would suspect that the market cycle's done at that point. We'll know by a few things. Again, this is why we want to kind of keep track of the indicators here. Right now, we've got a really bullish indicator. We have a higher, not really bullish, but it's about to turn really bullish. We need the RSI and the daily here to kick higher because we are kind of peaking out. This is also why I suspect we'll see a bull flag. We'll want to see kind of a retest of the mid-range here. But again, look how much lower. Here's the bearish signals coming in, right? On the daily, look how hard the RSI is here. Here's the price. Here's how high the RSI is. So here's the price, right? So you have a higher RSI, lower price, higher RSI, or sorry, lower highest RSI. Geez, late night technical conversations, right? Okay, try this again. Higher RSI, higher price, right? Lower price, or higher price, lower RSI, higher price, even lower RSI. So this is a bearish indicator here, is that you basically have price going up, RSI declining. Now, I would like to see, you'll probably see a break of this, so we get a much bigger peak out, and then it'll do something like this. It'll be lower again, and then that's when it usually starts to fall, something like this. Anyways, okay, macros. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. We'll take a look at Avalanche. Avalanche is been slowly being acquired by very strong hands. Its public launch and its vesting schedule, or its distribution schedule, I think could have been better. That's why you have such big blah, 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 almost like clockwork, blah, blah, blah. But that's about gone. So you actually see the depth here of these getting a little shorter and a little bit flatter each time, even here too. So now we've started to peak up finally. So we're getting into a really bullish territory for Avalanche, where you've got a lot of room for upside. We've been very bullish on Avalanche since around $2 to $3. Again, you can go back through August. You can watch all of our videos in August, July, or well, actually, I think I just used August as a reference before. I didn't mean to. Let's say October, after Avalanche launched. I just had said August before because that's when we were focusing on most of this like Solana conversations, trying to find layer 1 stuff. Around $2 to $3, we had a nice tweet around $13. Still very bullish on Avalanche. Just even from the tweet, we were up 500%, which is fantastic. In the private group we went over, we had a lot of people do really well. We kept banging the drum of the Avalanche community here between $17 again, and are already up 500%. So we're already up 500% for most of our entries. At some of them at the very least 500%. I actually made a tweet the other day. I'm like, hey, I own more Avalanche than I do Ethereum. Well, that's because Avalanche has done a 33x, in case anyone wondered how that happened. Okay, so let's go to the technicals here. We'll start with just our Wyckoff trading ranges. So what's really unique here is that we had a 200 and something day accumulation period. Only 88 day, although it felt like 200 days. We had a nice breakout cycle, and we've stayed very bullish. So this is actually our SOS and our LPS phases that we're witnessing right now. So we actually have another leg that's going to be quite higher. So bang, bang. This was our SOS and LPS phase, right? Just like we saw with Ethereum, SOS, LPS, SOS, LPS. And this is kind of the final movement before we get the big kicker. And again, go back into our videos, which are March, April, May, June, if you feel like seeing how well we've done so far in terms of using the technicals and the fundamentals to get these things at least somewhat right. These structures usually appear twice. You get some type of channel that moves like this outside of the trading range. Not always beautifully defined by that widening megaphone, but you do see it. And here we're seeing something kind of similar with Avalanche too. We're seeing this kind of widening megaphone pattern through the SOS and LPS phases only. If it's not outside of the back of a trading range, the widening megaphone pattern can be really deceiving, and I don't suggest it. But this last little bit here, we've closed above the point of control. I suspect we're going to be at probably $80 to $90. We'll come back down to around 75, and then I think Avalanche could go as high as 200, 250. And then I also think that will be the end of the bull market, somewhere around 2020. And it'll be like boom, boom, and then we'll get to reevaluate everything for another year or two. Well, the Shiba Inus and the Dogecoins get washed out, and all the speculative value disappears for a little bit. And that's when my favorite time is, because you find the best projects for the cheapest prices. And it allows me to understand the value of things that I don't yet currently understand the value of. Like, I don't know what NFTs are worth. Like, I'm not an art guy. The video game sector I get. Like, I can put those pieces together. I don't speculate on art. I mean, I make art. I play music. Maybe that's why I'm bad at valuating it. I make it. I can't tell you what it's worth. Fucking priceless, I guess. Art's a very unique perspective on value. I guess it's more like I think it's like a flex. I think art is probably more like a flex. Those things I can't. The flex I do understand actually now, but just not like that. Okay, so again, we've got a really nice continuation pattern for Avalanche. I think we're going to probably end up at $89, and rising price on falling supply. This is really good. This really large amount of accumulation to me is quite bullish. You do see that you had some big players test the market here as well. They're like, well, shit, we just like 5x our money. Like, let's just drop right out. But their selling stopped. They stopped selling like that. Everything that you have down here is probably retail. But these big moves, this is all hedge. This is actually, to some degree, this is probably a chunk of Three Arrow Capital and other big funds that recognize the value of having a crap ton of Avalanche inside of their portfolio. When you see accumulation supply signatures like this, that's a big entity. This is not a small player. Okay, so down here, we're actually seeing pretty much only retail buying and selling. But these big players, what they would like to do is, as this kind of drops off and they recognize, because they're down here too, they're actually accumulating more. They're trying to accumulate more at these prices. And this is how they're testing the market. They actually go forward and then drive the market up even further. This is why a lot of people think that this stuff is manipulation. It's like, no, it's just people that have more money than you. If you had that much money and you were trying to get it into the market, you would recognize the same thing. And what you don't want to do is shoot yourself in the foot by buying an asset at spot price and smashing the price up for no reason. So yes, the markets are manipulated by people that have more money than you. You could manipulate the markets if you had that much money as well. And that's the downside, at least from the Federal Reserve standpoint. Like, if you're not the Federal Reserve, you're pretty much everybody else. But nonetheless, I don't want to get too off track here. Technicals for Avalanche look great. Fundamentals look great. I think Avalanche is really well poised if I put Ethereum, Solana, and Avalanche out on the track as race cars, and I'm sure they've all sponsored race cars, and FTM has too for sure. I'm also bullish on FTM, but we're not going to use it in our thesis tonight. Because again, I don't know which one of these is going to be the winner. They all look great, like great technology. And as a matter of fact, I suspect that they will end up in particular verticals over time. Like, they will find a home for what they are best suited at doing, right? You don't just have saws. You actually have angle grinders and drills. And there's a whole bunch of tools that people need when they're building stuff. So I don't discount that. I actually think that they likely all have a future because of my understanding of a toolbox. So, we're super bullish. I'm super bullish on Avalanche. Still, nothing has changed. I think the market cycle, we'll see when we start to get really big supply signatures again selling. Then we'll notice. But for now, everything looks really good. Solana is in nothing but strong hands. Solana has probably been one of the most well accumulated assets I've seen in a while. I want to give a shout out to Sino Cap. They made a fantastic tweet. If you don't follow Sino Global or Matthew Graham, I highly suggest you do. Very smart individuals, great team. Shout out to Sally Wang as well. If you go look at their strategy and how they've been able to accomplish what they've done, they were accumulating enormous amounts of this in small chunks, right? Now, as the bigger players have showed up, you start to see what a bigger player's footprint looks like. But they were so early that they were able to accumulate a lot for quite cheap. This is one of the interesting things about venture capital is you can get yourself an enormous stake for very little if you can catch the trend way before everybody else. Look. So this is where we start. This is where we started telling people why we were bullish on Solana was around $5. Okay, so just from a rough spectrum, and this is again why people are like, oh, you think Ethereum's not going to make it or whatever. I'm like, this is all venture capital, baby. Look at this. 4,500% in 280 days. Again, that's 4 times higher than Ethereum. Now, what are you here to do? Make money or get it right? Both. I want to make money and get it right. And I don't know, so I'm getting it right with all 3. In case you were wondering. So this is a highly sought after asset that's in very strong hands. These technical indicators to me right now say that whoever accumulated this asset early is not letting go. And when they do, it's just to test the market so that they can buy up more because they have more capital now. Look at how beautiful this trading range was through May and June. Look at this. It's almost sexy. You have one market test to the up and down, and this is why we study the comp man. Like one big market test to the top, back down to the bottom, a little higher, and then bang. This was probably one of the most sexy freaking technical playouts that we've seen in this bull market so far, and it's because it was accumulated so well early on by really strong, really invested players. Whereas with Avalanche, because of their open kind of public market distribution, you had this big retail sell-off of people that had made millions of dollars that have never had millions of dollars before. So their first instinct is to take the money and run, basically, right? But now we're seeing the same indicators in Avalanche start to show up that we saw in Solana, which is that it is now in much stronger fund manager hands and they are not willing to let go. They're only testing the market when they sell so that they can buy more. And I think that we're going to see them step in here in Avalanche very shortly and push the price up to around 80 to 90 bucks. And Solana, again, peaking out to new highs. It's already in really strong hands. I suspect that this is a reaccumulation schematic 3. It does something like this, and then again goes into the finality of the bull market, probably upwards of $300 to $400 for Solana, and then game over. Now, lastly, finally, this part here. I'm going to go over. Actually, hold on here. I'm going to go over. Star Atlas, but I want to talk about the Metaverse, play to earn gaming in general. We kind of went over it briefly in the conversation prior here to basically the reason why I'm so fundamentally bullish on so many of these conversations. I'm just going to, by the way, anyone who's spamming in the chat, we just hide users. That's it. All of your comments will be removed, and all your ability to comment will always be removed. So if you ever feel like spamming and you're like, hey, I'd like to lose my right to post stuff on this channel, just go ahead and spam the channel for a minute, and then I'll happily ban you just like that. Yeah. Hold on a sec here. We're just gonna ban some people, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Okay. Gone. Got rid of the spam channelers. Spammer bamblers. Nice. Well, I'm here. Ruben Gringich says, I made a lot of money on Avalanche from you talking about it, Tio. Thank you. Well, thank you for doing what you thought was right. I'm just here to share my story, my journey. I appreciate all of your guys' support through that as well. Okay, play the flute. Yeah, okay, nice, Michael. I can end the episode with the flute this evening. Sounds like fun. Yes, nice. Okay, cool. We're going to dive back in. I just wanted to clear up the chat. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, we'll get to your questions here at the end of this. This is the last part. Well, there's actually two last parts. The other thing that I forgot to go over just while we're here, because it's a live stream, y'all going to get it at random. This part is fun to see. Again, Bitcoin's price has been rising and the supply is falling. We're in a very bullish setup for Bitcoin right now on every layer, fundamental, technical. We're getting screaming bullish signals from Bitcoin. I think we're going to be probably 75, 85 grand within the next 2 weeks here. So keep in mind on that. And then let's go back. I want to solve this next thing and then go here. Okay, bam. There we go. Yes, Star Atlas. Very, very beautiful technical setups here that I want to use as examples about what we were talking about earlier. Okay, so see how as we went lower on the RSI here, as the price went lower, the RSI at one point got higher even though the price was lower. This was a very bullish indicator, and right afterwards you saw a rip up to the top of the RSI, and this is on the 6 hour. So again, we saw this again. We saw the RSI bottom out here. We saw a very low price section come in here, but it was still higher than here, and a higher section here with a higher RSI. So when you have a rising RSI and that falling price, this is what's called bullish divergence. Again, I don't use technicals like this too often, but it's really good to see here on a Star Atlas, so you guys will know why I was accumulating more of it. Anyways, I'm very bullish on Star Atlas. I don't, again, sometimes, guys, I spend my life living out in the middle of the jungle. There's no technical reason why I'm this bullish on Star Atlas. It's just a feeling. It's part of my intuition. Maybe it's because I like sitting out and watching the clouds, and I'm like, oh, Star Atlas, and like it's a cloud. I have no idea. Maybe I liked Cloud Atlas or something. Whatever. The point of this is the technicals here are fantastic on the chart, and the fundamentals here, I think, are also fantastic. They're really well positioned to pull off what they're meaning to. So I want to use the smaller time frames here to kind of show this fun little breakout that we had earlier this evening. So I believe we're in a reaccumulation after decline in multiple areas. First off, on the 6 hour, we are in a reaccumulation after decline. I'm just going to sketch these out, so you'll have to be studying to know exactly what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you won't. But here's your reaccumulation after decline. If you're doing your studying, here's your first start of your SOS within that chart. But if you look closer, again, here on the 45-minute, we actually just had a reaccumulation after decline on the 45-minute too, as the final part of what I believe is the SOS. So here's the reaccumulation after decline, and we've just started the SOS and LPS pattern. And this is, again, why scale and variance is so interesting, is that, look, right now this is the 45-minute chart. We'll open it up here, and then look at it compared to Ethereum on the daily chart, right? They look very similar. So, okay, reaccumulation after decline. So again, it's tighter here. It's a much smaller time frame, but this is effectively the pattern that we're looking at. Boom, top, reaccumulation after decline, bang, 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 bang. And then again, same thing here. Top, bang, 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 bang. We'll probably get one more test down here of the 14 penny mark, and I believe we're headed to around 25 cents, maybe even $1 for this damn thing. Again, this is a lot of speculation. Star Atlas isn't like built and running like Axis is, where it definitely deserves that evaluate, or maybe I'm going to say deserves the valuation, but the speculation of such a high valuation makes sense. Here we're speculating on the fact that it has the potential to do that, not that it is doing it at this moment per se, like the game is already working and kids in the Philippines are making more than the average wage playing the game. I think Star Atlas is really well positioned to do that. They see the metaverse as a workspace, the revenue share, the in-game marketplace, the in-game DAOs to lend assets to different players. I think it's really well positioned to do some very unique things. So we've got a big position here. This is actually one of our largest positions. So that's fun. I never thought 6 months ago, you never could have convinced me that we would hold such a large amount of a video game asset. I would have laughed at you. And this is always what I love about life. So many times in my life, because I just like exploring and learning, so many of the things you could have told me, because I get kind of cynical about you get cynical about each moment because you think you've figured it out each time. You're like, oh, I think I've figured it out. So you have to be confident, right? And because you're confident about one thing, you usually kind of bearish on it, or like unconfident about another thing. You're like, no, I don't think I'm not going to be investing in video games. And then 6 months goes down the line, May, June this year, we went hard video games, like the Real Fever, this NFT, fantasy sports NFT game stuff, tryhards. There's a few out there that we're interested in. The Zed race horses, our CFO was really interested in as well. We kept sharing that in the private group. So Star Atlas was when it hit the deck, I'm like, I love this. This thing is fucking awesome. I see a huge amount of potential in the crypto gaming sector. I'm really excited about what these can provide. And that's what we've been doing for the last 3 months now, is just pretty much only looking at making investments in the crypto play to earn, I think is the best way to say it. Yeah, play to earn. And I believe, again, what's coming next will be the post to earn. So great technicals and great fundamentals on Star Atlas. And we have a really large position here. So anyways, that's it. I'm gonna leave it at that tonight. I'm gonna take a look at a few of your guys' thoughts and questions. So I'm gonna have this other screen over here. Yes, I will finalize tonight's episode with some flute. So if you happen to be a fan, what do you think about Polis? Polis is probably more undervalued. I think that because a lot of people are speculating. Sorry, yeah, that's a great point. Great question, actually. So someone's asking about Polis, which is the in-game voting token, effectively. I think compared to Atlas, it's undervalued. I think a lot of people that are buying Atlas don't know that Polis exists, thinking that Atlas is what Polis does. But Polis, fundamentally speaking, is probably more valuable. So in terms of like what... So when I say I'm accumulating Atlas, I have to let you know, I mean both tokens. Sorry, that's kind of my bad. If with Axes, for instance, with their Axie token and their Smooth Love Potion, you kind of want to have both assets, right? So the in-game assets, like we have Axes. Thank you to Lowkey, by the way, for those. We have some Axes. Right, we have these. We've actually got a few NFT characters throughout the metaverse. But the point of this is, you should, if you're interested in this sector, you should be finding exposure to all of it. So that doesn't mean just Atlas. Sorry, yeah, that's a great question because I wasn't clarifying that, and I should have. I'm just assume you guys. No. So I'm very bullish on Polis as well. This is the voting token for how the game will develop, how player scenario stories will develop. So yes, I'm very bullish on Polis as well. But I think, again, Polis is probably undervalued compared to Star Atlas. So here it's right below here. Boom. You do see, again, check this out. This is actually quite nice. Look at this bullish divergence here on the 1 hour. Right, like look at the RSI just constantly getting a little bit higher each time. And then you have your price pretty much constantly declining. So this is again what you call bullish divergence here. Bang, bang. So we had quite a bullish moment for Polis as well this last week. We're already up 100% on Atlas since a lot of our... So I usually try to make, like, again, day over day entries if I'm trying to accumulate something. That way I don't just all of a sudden buy, like, just if you say you want to buy $100,000 or a few $100,000 or $1 million worth of something, you don't just buy it today. You generally want to space it out, find yourself within the market, give yourself time to accumulate. You get a much better, more emotionally valuable price point effectively. Oh, no. Okay, BTC share. There we go. Okay, so here we go. I'm glad I caught that. See, at least I could see it early this time because I do have the second screen. Okay, so... Oh, great. I could actually put the other screen there too. So yeah, here, the white line moving upwards, white line falling downwards. This is bullish divergence. Really, really like a pretty much perfect bullish divergence. Sorry, I didn't have a bit more time last month to go over this with you guys, but we saw it forming. We shared it in the Bear Den just by saying, like, guys, Star Atlas, like the whole time pretty much. But anyways, yes, great question. Polis and Atlas, I am very bullish on. So thank you for asking that one. When will tryhards release their token? I believe they're going to launch near the end of November. So again, guys, we try to find projects as early as possible. In our private group, we were talking about Star Atlas a month before it launched at all. So we will often look at projects that are not yet launched. Some people like to look at projects when they're already really big and really popular. We try to find them before anybody knows about them. That's what we're really good at doing. I actually also kind of suspect that that's why we're not super big yet, in terms of views at least. we like to find things that aren't popular. So when we find them early, and then they become popular. Now, what's unique about this process is that that's what you want. You don't want to jump on the bandwagon late necessarily. Now, I don't think you're late with Star Atlas or Polis either, by the way. I think that effectively we're very early in understanding the NFT metaverse sector. But in comparison with where we were last year in Avalanche, in Avalanche and Solana, or even Ethereum and Bitcoin, you're basically late because you're in the middle of the market. Whereas here with the metaverse, like, this is the beginning of the market. We don't yet know what this is capable of. So this is the beginning of the market for the metaverse, and it's the middle of the market for the rest of those cycles. So lots of fun, a lot of fun. I'll sit down and chat with you guys here for a minute. Let's see where we're at. We'll just go over a few of your thoughts and questions for fun too. I always like sharing. Okay. Beard and Jerry. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Dent. I know you guys keep asking about Dent. I don't do technical, and I'm not a dance monkey. I can show you what I'm interested in, but that's about it. If I'm not interested in it, it doesn't mean it's not valuable. It could just mean that I don't understand it. The other thing it could mean is that I just don't have enough human capacity to invest in everything. I'm just like, okay, this is what I understand. This is my current thesis. I'm just going to roll with that. So I'm not going to look at Dent because I don't have any money there. Finalize the flute. Okay, that's what it is. You guys like flute. We'll go with that. We'll play some music tonight. Can you talk about, oh yeah, we went over Star Atlas and Polis already. Nice. Yeah, okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, well, we'll play some music for you guys this evening. Always fun to have these live streams. I always have a great time. Yes. Awesome. Okay, so I'll just grab the flute here. It'll be fun. Oh, let's see. It makes me want to play the clarinet. I don't. Okay, we'll play. Sorry, there's no reeds in the clarinet right now. We'll just go with this. So, in case you guys are new to this channel, one of the things that I'm always excited about is what's value or what's wealth. And most of my younger years I spent studying psychedelic plants. Sounds like a weird thing to say. And Indian music. So I was a huge fan of tabla players, like just actually Indian music in general. I really like the abstract rhythms. I was a huge fan of that. So I spent a lot of my life studying music and plants. Nice. We got AVAX in the house. I love that. So one of the reasons why I love music so much is because it feels like a conversation with my soul or with my higher consciousness. And so every time I find an instrument, I pick it up. And instruments are kind of like investing, right? When you first start, you're going to make mistakes. But if you make sure you're limited in what the mistakes are going to cost you, you'll do really well. And in music, the mistakes that are going to cost me are just sounding bad. And I do not care if I sound bad. I do not care if it sounds silly or if I look stupid. Nope, that doesn't bother me, because what is truly valuable is way beyond the simple trivialities of life. And too often we get caught up in those ideas. I think I guess to highlight this point too, before I start to play, this is the year or the moment of our year in many cultures, cross borders, through different civilizations, through different religions, people who worship different gods. Many of these cultures all celebrate something very similar to the Day of the Dead or the celebration of the dead. Multiple cultures, again, celebrate between October 30th and November 3rd. This is the time when we are moving through the Pleiades and through the Taurid meteor stream, and we celebrate the things that have passed, or the passing of things, I guess. So with that, I guess what I'm trying to say is that tonight's flute and music, and that my love for that conversation with higher self is dedicated to all of those who've gone before us, paved the way for this beautiful world. And thank you. Oh, yes, one of the other things, conscientiousness, kindness, and compassion are like some of the best things to invest in. So anyways, we'll leave it with that. Okay, well, here we go. Yes, there we go. I think. I got to retune this one really quickly, and we'll go back. Let's go back right into it. Oh, just a little bit more out of tune here. That's right. You can tune flutes in case you didn't know. See how it sounded out of tune there? We're going to pull it back, fix this, do that one there. There, wait, hold on. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Anyways, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you guys again in the next episode. I always have such a pleasure doing these.